All right, man, peace. So all over the internet and social media, people are losing their minds over the comments that were made about Miss Ayesha Curry, the wife of the superstar NBA basketball player Steph Curry, and I'll be covering that in another video. But for this video, I decided to make an entry into the Women Do Not Start to Mature Until They're 45 series, and this will be starring Miss Sonya Curry, who for some reason has managed to escape the massive scrutiny that has befallen Miss Ayesha Curry, when in my view, some of her comments in this video were just as interesting, just as borderline inflammatory, just as borderline disrespectful, at least when placed in proper context to what she says she understands today as opposed to what she understood or misunderstood in her youth. But I think that's because we live in an outrage culture. We live in a culture of clips and small segments where people have attention deficit disorder. They don't really want to do real research. They don't want to watch the entire program or the entire interview to place things in proper context and get an appropriate level of understanding before they just give their hot take. Once again, Ayesha Curry said certain things that were more revelatory to me than they were dastardly or destructive or disgusting or what have you. But as I stated, we'll cover that in another video. Just getting back to Miss Sonya Curry. She's going to help you understand the mindset of many females. And as I tell you brothers all the time, the woman in her core aspect is an agent of chaos. And she's going to confess to that in this segment here, in this portion where she's being spoken to directly by Jada Pinkett Smith. And Jada Pinkett Smith is also going to confirm that she herself showed agent of chaos characteristics back in her youth, and she still has some today, but they're starting to dissipate because why? She's growing and she's maturing. They're both in their 40s. Well, Sonya Curry's in her early 50s. Jada Pinkett is in her 40s, somewhere in there. And Sonya Curry is going to make an admission that's going to force Jada Pinkett Smith to reflect back on a certain time period in the relationship between herself and Will Smith and force her to ask herself, was I also, quote unquote, rebellious? Was I an agent of chaos as well? And of course, the answer is yes. And unfortunately, in this society, many women do not understand how destructive they were in their past unless they're having conversations with other women. Because the enmity and the antipathy between men and women in this society is played up and it's encouraged. So women by nature do not understand, nor do they respect the wisdom of men. They don't respect a lot of the advice that men give them. They don't regard a lot of the information that comes from men. They only want to turn to other women. So unless they're fortunate enough to run into a woman with enough experience and wisdom to tell them the correct thing, they're going to go along and destroy their own lives. They're going to be an agent of chaos and bring anarchy not only to those around them, but to themselves. But let's see what Miss Sonya Curry has to say here about who she was in her past as opposed to who she is now and what she understands. And certain things that, as I've already stated, probably should have been placed under as great an amount of scrutiny as Ayesha Curry's statements, but for some reason they seem to have escaped under the radar. So of course they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
Being here with you guys, I can feel the warmth and the energy of the women in this family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
I won't be able to get through this whole thing without crying, so.
that makes you and I know I'm already teary. But, you know, every family is not like that.
Yeah.
Every
I
family
think
is not
family
like that.
can be the hardest relationships.
Yeah.
I agree. Family relationships can be the most difficult because, as they state, you can't choose your family. You can choose your friends, you can choose your significant other, but you cannot choose your family. You're born into a certain environment, and hopefully the Lord blesses you to have great parents and siblings who are supportive. Hopefully you're blessed in that way. For the most part, people have to make the best of every situation in life, but family relationships and dynamics can be very difficult, especially some of the sibling issues that are normally based in jealousy and envy. But hopefully, if you're fortunate, there's a maturity factor there and people can grow beyond whatever issues they may have had with one another as children.
Actually.
This is like real NBA wife, partnership, fiance, superstardom situation happening right here because people...
No, actually what it is another example of how females love to take credit for the success of a man. Let's be for real. This whole Curry family superstardom dynamic did not emerge until Steph Curry made his splash in the NBA. And that was about in his 4th season. Nobody cared about the quote-unquote Curry family or the Curry household until Stephen Curry became a superstar in the NBA and decided that he was going to be so magnanimous that he was going to allow all of his family to get as much shine as he was getting. So the credit goes to Steph Curry.
Well, think about the glory side of it. I don't think that people really understand what it takes for women to hold the positions that we have to hold.
No, actually, I think that people do understand what it takes for a woman to be a wife to a successful man. All it takes is wherewithal and loyalty. Loyalty is something that you're born with. It's intrinsic. You either have it or you don't. If you're not loyal, then it's going to be very difficult for you to be a wife to an affluent man, especially in a society like this, where once again, women are taught to always be combative and competitive with men. Eddie Murphy broke this dynamic down many years ago in his classic comedy feature Raw. He said, if you're a woman and you're married to a man with $400 million, you have one job: fuck your husband. He said, you can write that on your W-2, I fuck my husband. That's your job. Now, if you're married to a man who has a job and he loses his job, and all of a sudden both you and him have to work together, grind, and get yourself out of a hole, now that's difficult. That's a tough situation for anyone to be in. But for people to claim that it's so hard and there are so many obstacles when it comes to being a wife of an affluent athlete or anyone of affluence, it's really bullshit. It's about your own ego issue. You don't want to just be the wife of a man. And as I've stated in other videos, brothers really have to pay very close attention to this. Most of these females do not want to be wives. They want the marriage, but the wife aspect is very difficult for them to be able to assume. Because being a wife, just like any other job or vocation, means consistency. And the woman by nature is up and down like a roller coaster. She's different every night. That's why in the ancient cultures, the woman was so often likened unto the moon, because the moon goes through different phases every night. And the woman in this society is so exalted that it stops her from being able to truly examine herself every day with an objective eye. She's constantly being placated. She's constantly being enabled and told by the media and other influential components of this society that she can do no wrong, that behind every great man is a greater woman, behind every strong man is a stronger woman, behind every smart man is a smarter woman. So now she becomes delusional. And what you'll find about many of these delusional females is that reality hits them in a very hard way, and they can only deal with reality through antidepressants or some other form of substance abuse. They become heavily depressed, and many of these women have turned to therapy. I mean, for real, brothers have to do their due diligence before they start serious relationships with these females. Find out about their past, find out about their mental history, not just their relationship history. You need to be very patient, because what many of these women know is that they're not mentally stable. Many females know that they're not right upstairs, and they try to hide it for as long as they need to until they can ensnare that man. But once again, relationships are not that difficult if you have certain very important integral characteristics. Number one being loyalty. What loyalty basically entails is that you can handle monotony, and that you honor and respect whatever it is that you're loyal to based on general principles and not simply what that other person or that other entity can do for you. That's what loyalty is. Like your mother or your father, they love you because of you. They don't love you because of what you can give them, or at least hopefully that's why they love you. Now, when you're dealing in relationship dynamics with others, you never know what exactly their motivations are. That's why it really behooves you to take your time.
Standing with our men.
Right.
How many years have you been married?
30 years.
Wow. 30 years. Because you know I'm on 21.
Wow. You can make it.
Now look at this, brothers. Jada Pinkett Smith asks Sonya Curry how long she's been married. Sonya Curry says 30 years. And then Jada Pinkett Smith says, I've been married for 21 years, and she puts her head down. These females are so flagrant with the disrespect, with the public displays of disrespect for their relationships. And then they wonder why more and more men are turning against the concept of marriage. If you truly are an advocate of the concept of marriage, would it not behoove you to accentuate the positive aspects and what it's brought to your life? At the end of the day, would anyone know who Jada Pinkett Smith was if she was not married to Will Smith? Would anybody know this person? Of course they would not. She'd be known as the little skinny girl who was on the last couple of seasons of A Different World, and did a few bad movies in the mid-90s, a couple of good ones. That's who Jada Pinkett Smith will be known as today. Her career in Hollywood has basically been over since what? Since she did Collateral with Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx back in the early to mid-2000s. What major motion picture has she been in since then that involved a cast of people who were not predominantly black? Now, she was in that toxically feminine flick, the chick flick, last year with King Latifah and that other broad, that bugged out comedian, Tiffany Haddish. She was in that flick last year, but I mean, that was for older black women. If she cannot get cast in that, she might as well just totally give up. The point being is this: Will Smith has kept her relevant, and it's very difficult for these females to understand that. And that's really where all of this energy comes from. People are talking about Ayesha Curry wanting to sleep with other men and blah, blah, blah. It's resentment, brothers. The modern day liberal female is resentful that she has to receive her energy from her man, because she's constantly being told that she is the 0 point, that she's the mother goddess, that everything comes from her. When in all reality, they're receiving a lot of their sustenance from the man. And the reason why they matter, for all intents and purposes, from a public perspective, is because of their men. And that's very difficult for the woman to deal with ego-wise. The ego of the woman does not receive enough attention when we're evaluating the issues in this society. Everybody talks about the ego of the man. The woman has a huge, huge ego. That's why before they leave their homes, they have to make sure that they have makeup on their face, and their hair has to be certain colors, and they have to make sure that they have push-up bras on and Spanx around their waist and high heels. It's in order to propagate an image of what they wish they were, as opposed to accepting who they actually are. I've mentioned this in other videos. The modern day black female, especially the liberal black female, loves to talk about how so-called black men are lynched and they have color issues and blah, blah, blah. When the so-called black man was stipulating certain cultural mores in the late 60s, early 70s, he had the so-called black woman wearing her hair natural and wearing afros. When the so-called black woman decided to follow behind the Caucasian woman and her feminist movement, that's when they decided to wear weaves and wigs, etc. All right, so it's very important that we place things in proper historical context.
It's possible.
Yeah, our partnership, we don't even really call it a marriage anymore. We call it a partnership. We're life partners.
Jada Pinkett Smith stated that her and Will Smith do not call what they do a marriage anymore. They call it a partnership, because that's what it is. Brothers, once again, when you decide that you're going to quote unquote get married to someone, that's not real marriage. Okay? For there to be a real marriage, you have to live in a society with a real culture. In a real culture, women are held accountable for their actions. In Western civilization, quote unquote civilization, women are not held accountable for their actions. So therefore, you cannot have real marriage. The woman is capricious by nature, so she's going to do whatever she wants from moment to moment. Therefore, you cannot have real marriage in this society. You understand that? So Jada Pinkett Smith, when she says that her and Will are partners, she's talking about the corporate aspect. They have a brand. That's why they're not going to get divorced. They have a brand. And I'll be covering that same concept when I do the Ayesha Curry video. Branding and the corporate aspect is more essential and integral to these modern day quote unquote relationships than the love component. Okay? And certainly the in love component. No man should be falling quote unquote in love. That's basically your way to subject yourself to a drug habit or some type of substance abuse. That's very, very unhealthy mentally and spiritually. Very unhealthy. But once again, the reason why Jada Pinkett Smith says that me and Will Smith are life partners is because she is trying to help the viewer understand, or the listener understand, that it's a corporate bond and a corporate brand as well between her and Will Smith. It's more lucrative for the both of them to stay together than to ever separate over anything. It just makes business sense. And it's also delving into the concept of being asexual, or not having a true gender, which is one of the foremost ideologies taught to these quote-unquote celebrities in Hollywood. And it's also an ideology that Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith have taught to their children, that they are without a gender. So, of course, since you no longer identify with a gender, what's the point of using the term marriage or married? Because it's no longer husband and wife. Now it's just partner and partner. So she's also saying that they adhere to the concept of being gender neutral.
Partners, we're in a different stage of our union. I know that unions go through many stages.
Yes. I met him at 18.
Yeah.
I've been with him since then. So to go from 18 to now being 53, you're like, who is this person from 18 to 53?
Yeah. Pause right there for 1 second. This woman says she's 53. Right? Let me tell you something. You don't know 53.
That's right.
Every year,
No,
it's
keep
better
going,
and
keep
better
going.
and better and better.
Yes. Okay, go ahead. I didn't want to stop.
They better stop giving Sonya Curry all them damn compliments. Ayesha Curry is to Sonya Curry's right, boiling both of her hands into a fist, probably drawing blood out of her palms right now. She's like, damn, damn, damn. Oh, boy, Ayesha Curry.
Stop. Go ahead.
You know, in each stage, different things fuel the marriage.
Right.
And there's different types of commitments at different levels. So
There you
my first
go.
commitment was more, you're committed to the person because you're in love.
Yes.
The second one, you're committed to the family.
Family.
Because you got to build this. And to some degree, you're committed to kids. You know, when
Yes.
you're going through bumpy times, we got to think about our kids. And then the third part is, whoa, nobody's here. It's us. And who are you? And
Hey, brothers, did you hear that? That's the portion of this interview that I wanted to stop at, because it's the most integral and the most relevant portion of this interview up to this point between Jada Pinkett Smith and Sonya Curry. Is her noting, or at least acknowledging, a stage in long-term relationships between men and women that a lot of men do not grasp when they decide to commit to the concept or the dynamic of a marriage. That being, what happens once the kids are grown and they're out of the house? Does the quote-unquote love that you have between you and that woman, is it of enough substance to assist the both of you in making it to the end of your lives? Because it sounds nice when you're taking those quote-unquote marriage vows, till death do you part. But for most people, death is just, it's up to the point where I don't feel like being with that person anymore. You understand that? So this is something that's very, very, very essential for cats to grasp, especially those of you who are married or in long-term relationships, living with your woman, you guys have kids or what have you. There's going to come a point where the woman is going to reach a certain phase when the children are grown, where she's going to reevaluate you and the overall dynamic, especially if she thinks she looks good enough to get another man. Sometimes females hit 53, 54 years old, if they still look good like a Sonya Curry does, and they say to themselves, you know what? This old fuddy-duddy that I'm with, he's not fun anymore. Look at that. Look at the situation with Scottie Pippen and Larsa Pippen. She did not even wait for the kids to get fully grown before she decided to dip. It happens. And it's not even because the woman does not necessarily love the man anymore. It's more because she's saying to herself, you know what? I still want to have fun. At the end of the day, the woman is about fun. She wants to have fun as long as she believes that she looks good enough for other people to want to have fun with her.
you know, he looks at me and goes, "You're not that 18-year-old that was gaga over me." And I'm looking at him going, "Okay, you don't quite look the same as you do." I got a little bit of that in me.
Now, brother, you see that? Sonya Curry says she looks at Del Curry and says to herself, you don't quite look the same as you looked back 30 years ago. That Now, of course, she's being honest, but I don't know anyone who looks the same at 55 as they did at 25. I don't care how much you work out. But why is Sonya Curry saying that? Why is she saying that about Del Curry? What she's really saying is that I work out every day, and I have men that hit on me all the time. I just want you to know that I have options in case you want to start acting crazy or what have you. And she probably can pull out an old adulterous affair that Del Curry has had in his past, and she could use that to subsidize the reason why she would leave him if she so chose. But notice that she decided that she was going to body shame Del Curry. I say this all the time. If men were going to get on television and talk about their wives or their significant others in the way that females have been doing recently, especially, there would be an upheaval. There'd be a claim that he's toxically feminine. What if a man came on TV and said, you know what, I can't be with my woman anymore. Every time she take off her bra, it look like she got 4 arms. I'm out of here. Her nipples are dragging down to the ground. I'm not turned on anymore. What if a man said that? It would be reports, especially if he was famous. There'd be reports all over the news. This guy's toxically feminine. He's a misogynist. He's this, he's that. But these women are getting on these, these interviews, these talk shows, these television shows, and they're just saying the most reckless, disrespectful stuff about their spouse. Not even about men or, random men. Their spouse. If Del Curry said, I can't deal with Sonya anymore. She's had 3 kids with me. Her coochie is trash. Her breath ain't what it used to be. Her ass is sagging. I don't care how many squats she does. She don't look as good. People say, what the hell is going on with Del Curry? We have to fire him. They will make Michael Jordan fire him from being the Hornets broadcaster. But she can do this. And I have no problem with it, brothers. The point being is this. We have to stop evaluating women as if they're equals. A lot of cats are on the internet and they're so upset about what Ayesha Curry has said. And I'll delve into this more in depth in the video that I do on her. All she is a woman, bro. It's a child with breasts. Children have to express themselves whenever they feel the need to. They don't have to have decorum. They don't have to have regard. If you're fortunate enough and blessed enough to come upon a woman that has that level of maturity and regard for you, then you truly are that. You're blessed. But the vast majority of these females, they don't care about anybody other than themselves, essentially. They just don't care. So they're going to say whatever they feel like saying.
Me too. Right. Things change. You start going, oh, okay. Well, you look at that and you're like, who are you personality-wise?
Right.
Sonya Curry said that she looked at Del Curry and after the kids left the nest, she had to reevaluate who he was personality-wise. What she really was saying is, I'm looking at you and I'm trying to determine if I really want to be with you. Because I put up with a lot of things over these past 20 plus years. And now that they are not the kids that are going to force us to stay together, why should I be with you? Do I love you enough to want to deal with some of your foibles as I find them to be? So always understand that when you decide that you're going to commit in a relationship with many of these modern females, you have to be evaluating every day what you're doing and why you're there, because that's what they're doing. The woman tries to use this convention of being in love so that she can disarm you. She's always going to stay armed up, but she wants to disarm the man. That's why, when the relationship starts, the marriage is all about love. The divorce is all about money.
And what do I now want to do with me in the time that I have? And
she says, what do I now want to do with me in the time that I have? You see that, brothers? Me and I, not we and us. Okay? Stop trying to change the woman. Stop trying to change them. Understand them. Pay attention to what they say. That's the most important thing that you can do. You waste time trying to change the woman. You cannot make a lion a vegetarian. You cannot make a deer a carnivore. Understand how people are, why they are that way, and then conduct yourself accordingly.
It's challenging. There can be some real rough times in that.
Would you say that you rebelled against being...
I did.
Yeah, you rebelled.
There was
against
a point
that
where it's like, I don't want to be Sonya Curry.
Yeah.
Like, I have a thing where I made my goals and it was like, be financially independent, da-da-da-da-da. And ironically, I was never financially independent and always was Del Curry's wife.
Hey, brother, you see that? Do you see what Sonya Curry was forced to admit? And it even prompted Jada Pinkett Smith's mother to smile to herself, because deep down, most of these females know, and as I've already stated, Sonya Curry's older now. And of course, Jada Pinkett Smith's mother's older now. Jada Pinkett Smith's mother's probably, in her early to mid 60s. They know that for the most part, in their younger life, they were full of nothing but shit. Once again, brothers, the modern women period, know that for the most part, they're full of shit. Okay? They do things just for attention. That's one of the main motivating factors of the woman. As I state repetitively, what galvanizes the woman is jealousy and boredom. That's why they have to court attention, because it stops them from being bored. It stops them from being jealous. You understand that? So by the time they get into their late 40s, 50s, they know who they are as people. They've accomplished all of their goals over the course of their life. Those of them who wanted to be married, for the most part, are married. Those of them who wanted to have children, for the most part, have had children. So they've lived out those experiences. The woman just goes from experience to experience. Very similar to how a child goes from ride to ride in an amusement park. That's how they view life. But pay attention to what Miss Sonya Curry is saying. She said that she rebelled against being Del Curry's wife because she did not want to be defined by being associated with him. She wanted to be, quote unquote, financially independent. What does that mean? That means that she wanted to feel like that whenever she wanted to, she could leave him. That's really all financial independence means to the woman. If I want to leave this nigga, I could leave him at the drop of a hat. And she says at no point in her life was she ever financially independent. No point in her life was she ever not Del Curry's wife. The woman rejects or tries to rebel against the concept of being a real wife, which is the helpmeet to a man. That's why they want to change and redefine a lot of these terms into being partner, because it helps make them believe that they're equal to the man, as opposed to being a complement to the man. Remember, the sun and the moon are not equal. They complement one another. They're not meant to be equal because they don't have the same job. The woman does not grasp that because of the Luciferian ideologies that she's being taught. She's being taught, try to outshine the sun.
It was like I was spinning my wheels, just trying to be a little bit of cankerous and just...
Brother, you heard that? Sonya Curry admitted that she spent a lot of her young life during her marriage trying to be cantankerous. What does that mean? That means belligerent, bellicose, combative, tumultuous, trying to bring an aspect of tumult into the relationship for no reason at all, just to feel empowered. That's why I tell you, cats, the woman is an agent of chaos. Okay? She's an agent of chaos. And you have to grasp this. When you deal with the woman, you have to gauge her chaos factor, because it's going to be there. For some of them, it'll be as low as 5%. For others, it'll be as high as 99%. But it's going to be there.
Rebellious, with it, but...
I think I've been that throughout my whole marriage.
You definitely passed it down to your kids. I can say.
Yeah, she passed a lot of shit down to her damn kids. Like being bugged out of her damn mind. She passed that down to her damn kids. Because you're clearly bugged out of your mind, Willow Smith. There's no doubt about that. But notice, Sonya Curry's admission made Jada Pinkett Smith reflect on a lot of her bullshit as well.
Say it like that.
That's so interesting. A light bulb just went off in my...
She said a light bulb went off in her head. That's what happens. That's why I stated, unfortunately for many of these females, they make so many bad decisions, especially at the behest of getting bad advice from others or from the television set. Unless they run into another woman who can place things in proper context for them, they're never going to get it, at least not until they're about 55, 60 years old.
In my head, I'm like, that might be your situation, Jada. Just pure rebellion.
Brother, you heard that? Just pure rebellion. Okay? So, congratulations to Sonya Curry. I'm not quite sure why her statements were not getting as much attention or acclaim or notoriety as Ayesha Curry's statements, especially that comment about her looking at Del Curry and saying, you don't look the same as you used to look, and who are you as a person, so on and so forth. I'm not quite sure why she's not getting as much attention, because she pretty much says something very similar to Ayesha. But it is what it is. The point being is this. Sonya Curry is beyond 45 years old. She has started her maturation process. She's 53 now. So she's had 8 years of maturing. Hopefully she continues to do so. And her and Del Curry continue to have a fruitful marriage. So peace.